Hey guys, Ryan right here.
And Jerry over here, if it's in stereo.
This is our podcast voice.
Oh shit.
Welcome to the podcast. We are going to be talking about a film today. It's also our pledge drive. If you'd like to donate money, we'll send you a coffee mug. And we'll be interrupting the show every 15 minutes to remind you about the pledge drive, because that's what we do on public radio. I like public radio, but pledge drives, everyone's like, ah, shit. I want my news, but I can't get it.
Yeah, so we're going to do a podcast today because...
This started, let's get into the backstory. This started out as a spoiler review with video.
But
We had the couch, the green screen.
we realized that if we want to just be, at least on my end, I was like, if I just want to be, honest about how I feel like being aware of the camera pointed at me and all the lights and shit will, distract me from it, because that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like this movie's a bit of a special case, and it's like I already don't want to... I don't want to be like, this is my review. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know,
because I know my opinions and my observations will, develop over time.
Yeah, I mean, if anything can be said of Christopher Nolan, it's that he makes movies that sort of are made for repeat viewing and discussion, you know?
Yeah, and pissing people off.
Apparently.
That's like his number one thing, is knowing how to piss off people.
Well, that's the problem, is like anytime you become an auteur, everyone's going to be like, hang on a minute. You know? It's like anytime you establish that kind of a voice, people are going to take issue.
So yeah, we're going to do a spoiler talk about Interstellar. If you're interested, do things that you can do when you're listening to a podcast. Don't just sit at the computer, download the audio, put it on your iPod or some shit.
Do we have like a SoundCloud?
I don't know. We should probably make one. Yeah, clean your bedroom.
Or
drive in the car.
Work, yeah. Don't try. Just waste gas and drive around town.
We're trying to tell you that if you want to develop your intellect, listening to podcasts helps. Bam. These are ways you can do it and have fun. Yeah. Ride the bike at the gym. No, I need music. But yeah, let's try to hop into this. Yeah, I suddenly got really nervous about this review.
Yeah, it's a big movie to talk
about.
I
feel like anything I say, immediately I'm gonna go, I know what someone else will say, though, to this.
Well, that's the problem, is you can't distance yourself from that with this movie, and that's sort of what makes me apprehensive, too, because it's like the kind of movie where everyone's gonna have an opinion.
Yeah.
You know, because it's already divisive just because of what it is, you know. It's like it's a perfect cocktail for people to immediately take up conflict with your opinion.
You know, what would they call if Inception and Interstellar?
Yeah, I've seen this joke a few times.
Interception. I think it's hilarious.
It is. It is funny. I've heard it a number of times this week.
All right, where to begin with talking about Interstellar?
Where do you begin with something so vast?
Yeah, I guess we'll start from the beginning. It's kind of, this is kind of hard to just hop into, because this is such especially because you just came out of it. And it's a movie you kind of have to process for a while.
Well, yeah, it's because I went in, and I wasn't even, super jazzed when I went in, but I was like, okay, I gotta go see this movie so that we can do the review, because, I've been holding the process up for a couple days. So, then I got out, and my first reaction was, the last thing I want to do right now is talk about this movie with anybody.
No, I honestly felt that way, too. I waited at least until the next day to put out my own review.
Yeah.
Because I was really fucking, I'm still not sure how I entirely feel about everything just yet.
It's like I came out of this movie knowing more about myself and how I perceive cinema than I did about my actual opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't watch movies usually focused on opinions so much, unless it's something that I wouldn't have gone to see anyway. Like if it's Identity Thief, it's I wouldn't have gone to see that. So when I'm there, I'm a little more okay, what do I think of this? But if I'm super interested in a movie, it's I don't sit there just being what's my opinion going to be?
It's pretty great. A few days have passed by for me since I've seen it. And I notice I like it more and more as time goes on. I mean, there are times where I'm well, I have a problem with this. And suddenly the thing that I had the exact problem for, I'm I kind of liked it. Anne Hathaway's character, for example. Mm-hmm. I did get genuinely annoyed by her when she okay, that mistake happens where the guy ends up dying, right? So that happens. It's like, okay, yeah, shit happens. Whatever.
Is that Wes Bentley?
Yeah.
Okay, alright. I'm glad to see he's in good movies now.
Yeah. He died, and like that was sad, whatever. And
I was bummed. I was legit bummed.
I was bummed, but I wasn't like, I don't think it was meant to be like, oh, but
Well, yeah, but I was still bummed that he was gone. I felt something.
so Anne Hathaway is then they're talking about the planets and which planet they should go to next, as they only have fuel for one. Mm-hmm. And then she proposes one planet because of a guy she hasn't seen in like 10 years, and she has a slither of a chance of seeing him.
Slither.
No, slither. Just like the movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just like the snake activity.
Yeah. I got annoyed by her because it was like, dude, really? After what just happened with the one guy dying, now you're not even thinking logically for everyone else right now.
Oh, see, I thought they orchestrated that scene perfectly. Because the second, when he brought that up, I was like, oh, here it comes. And then she explained herself, and I was like, this is a compelling argument. Because that's what the film is constantly locking you back into more than any sort of sci-fi dynamic is the human experience of these characters,
I felt that there was a good amount of it that felt a little forced to me. In my honest opinion, well, you know what, Jerry?
This movie was a very emotional experience for me. I was emotionally joined with it.
I really wasn't.
Once they left Earth, I was in it.
The thing about it, to me, like, I honestly, the writing I felt so aware of the whole time. I could be, like, very aware of the script. Now, here's what I'll admit.
I was aware of the script a lot in the first act when they're on Earth.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I wasn't.
But what I will say is that this happens to me with several Nolan films. It's been this way since I was a kid and I saw his films. I never know how to truly feel about them after they're done. Mm-hmm. Even with Batman Begins, when I saw that in like fucking high school or something, I didn't know how to just respond to it. But then after a second viewing and stuff, I always tend to get his movies even more. Mm-hmm. Like Dark Knight Rises, you remember when we walked out of it? I was like, no, I don't know, I was pretty disappointed. Mm-hmm. And then like I called you like 2 days later, and I was like, this was a pretty damn good movie.
Yeah.
And it's not like I watched it again. I just thought about it more. Mm-hmm. Like, there's stuff I get. Like, I'm open-minded to hearing what other people have to say. Like, I'm not a fucking douchebag like a lot of these other fucking assholes out there who are like, nope, I made an opinion when I saw it, and I'm gonna stick by it.
Well, that's why I feel detached from like the modern age right now, because everything is sort of geared since everything, all of our inventions and technology and everything is sort of geared towards saving time, and everything can be done on the fly. There's this sort of sense of like, I gotta know how I feel about this movie because tomorrow there will be another movie. And it's like, I kind of miss being able to take time to just let something germinate in your head before you spew your opinion all over people.
I agree.
Because it's like the credits started to roll and I already heard people like doing that sort of like, this thing, It's just like, oh,
no, it's pretty annoying.
I don't want to hear it.
Like, okay, here's what bottom line. I have a bottom line that I'm going to start this off with. I like to give my bottom line first.
Please.
If you're going to talk about just a movie and not fucking go in with, well, let's see how expertly accurate they are on everything and judge every moment because it's Christopher Nolan's film. If you just look at it as a film, it's a pretty damn good film. You know what I mean?
It's pretty incredible in a lot of ways. And I think even if you don't ultimately like it, if you're completely unmoved by it, I would be a little shocked.
The thing is that I feel like if you just took if they just lied and said this person directed it and no one really knew who it was,
yeah,
I feel like more people would be just genuinely loving this film.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because it is like great in just a movie going experience way.
Yeah,
especially on IMAX.
That's the only way you should see this movie. That's
the
only way.
It's the first time you watch this on IMAX will be like, okay, I can never go on a regular screen.
Well, and this was also, like, because it was film projection, I know a lot of people don't care as much anymore, but I was sitting there going, like, especially in the space scenes, I was flashing back to things like 2001, and I was like, I'm actually consciously glad they shot this on film, I like film, versus digital, but I'm not one of the crusader people who's like, film all the time! But I really was appreciative of that choice consciously in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I heard there's no green screens.
At all?
Yeah, I heard they built very crazy elaborate set. I heard
believe so.
I heard in an interview Nolan himself said we didn't use any green screens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I buy that for a lot of it. I don't know how I feel about that in the 5-dimension, 3-dimension bookshelf prism world, but I mean,
right.
If they pulled that off somehow, then killer. More power to you. Incredibly, in fact, even more power to you. That's the thing is, even if this movie isn't successful for you, I think you have to appreciate the fact that it's certainly ambitious with a lot of tricky territory.
Yeah. And I will say this, another reason why I'm hesitant for this review is because the first 10 minutes are us just saying why we're hesitant to review this movie. Another reason why I'm hesitant is because the things I want to talk about, I know are not gonna be things that most people probably want to actually hear about.
But this is your unique, what you can bring to the table,
I don't really, at the end of the day, we can argue all the scientific crap, but I'm honestly, I don't know what the fuck a lot of it actually means. I was able to follow it throughout the movie. But,
I'm not a quantum physicist. I'm not here to fact check you.
But you know those guys who think they are?
Yeah.
When they're not? They don't even have a degree in it?
This isn't how wormhole theory works.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking, well, it's a theory
it's
still to us.
Science fiction.
And in science fiction.
Well, we expect, especially nowadays, I guess we're kind of spoiled with certain movies and how we, there's a lot of push toward realism and tone and everything's got to be gritty and real. But we've sort of started to focus a lot more heavily on the science part, and the fiction part has sort of been pushed over here. And I feel like you do have to embrace both halves of that cocktail if you're going to go to any science fiction movie. It's
That's another thing I think they're going really hard on this film about, is exactly what you're saying. Everyone wants it to be accurate science.
Yeah.
And I'm why the fuck do you care so much about it?
It's good. It's good to have your wallpaper thought out. But I was watching in the movie and I was like, if your main gripe is the science mechanics, I feel like you're kind of missing the point.
Yeah.
It's not about those things. It's just Looper isn't about time travel mechanics. I mean, they play a big part, but it's about the character stories. And in this movie, it's mostly just about the story of these humans in the situation.
Yeah, see, my opinion's already changing more now that I'm talking with you. Because you're manipulating.
Because for however well or not you think Christopher Nolan draws a character, his movies are very lifey. They do have an essence of life to them in the sense that these characters are living. They're very, rich in that regard,
Yeah, absolutely. This story is really about, it sounds cheesy, but it's really about love. It's all about love and sacrifice.
Love and sacrifice and exploration and all sorts of things. The need to survive. I mean, they're universal themes, but in an interesting way.
But it's all told through emotional experiences.
Well, yeah, and you get the reason why people what I thought they did well is, especially even in that scene you were talking about. That scene didn't bug me at all, actually, with Anne Hathaway wanting to go to the one planet over the other because she was in love with that scientist. It's
no, see, now I'm even taking that back right now.
I get her reasoning. It's that's your human thing, because that's the whole point of this is it's so entwined with the core, because when they find out that the whole mission is a lie, it's people do what they have to for what they care about, and no matter who you are, you can't divorce yourself from that, because that's all you know from your own personal experience,
Yeah, I did like how they even integrated it as being that energy being a physical thing. Because I believe that, and I know that quantum physics, most quantum physicists say that mind and like thought is all physical, So like that was cool to kind of see that thrown in there. Yeah. Sweet stuff in Interstellar.
I thought all the. I mean, if
sorry.
Getting into the science stuff and the sort of theories, because that's the thing too, is like this is a science fiction movie that deals with very out there theories, stuff that we don't have a grasp on yet, or a very good one. And then that's what good science fiction I think should do, is take those things that we don't know about and then try and go into the parts that are still mysterious and take a guess, take a stab at it.
We already take great, like, people are treating, like, even at the end of the day, it does still kind of annoy me that people are treating these theories as 100% fact. And then they judge this movie as if that's not what would happen. I'm like, do you know for sure?
Nobody knows, and I mean that's part of the point.
Yeah, that's why they're a theory still.
Yeah, I mean, they're. I don't know all the science, so I don't know the exact gripes. But it's like if you're like, well, that's not what the inside of a black hole would look like. I'm like,
have you?
Like,
like,
have we? I'm just.
That was a cool scene. That was really cool.
There's a lot of cool scenes.
That I thought the going through the wormhole sequence was, or black hole sequence was really cool. Wait,
both of them. I mean,
which one's the black hole? Which one's the wormhole again?
Oh shit!
What was the first hole they went through?
The first one, yeah. I forget what all the terminology is now, but yeah, they go through that one black.
And then when she shakes hands with McConaughey, sorry, my thoughts are just like going now.
Well, and this is, again, it took me back to sort of being a kid in that sense, because it's like, it's that wonder again of like, oh my god, here's the thing I will never get to see with my own eyes. And they've given me at least an idea of what it could look like.
Yeah.
And even if it's not accurate...
Especially on IMAX, like with the IMAX cameras, it looks like a documentary.
Yeah, and it's like, especially, even if it's not accurate, it's like, I'm in the cinema, I'm just watching the screen, it's like, I'm watching a story that is a work of science fiction. And those things, are dazzling in that way.
See, I think I was distracted by what everyone else... This is why with movies like this, I normally intentionally refuse to hear what other people are saying.
See, the older I've gotten, and even the deeper I've gotten into doing these, film review or whatever, like, the less I want to hear anything from anyone. Even, people I like. Like, I'll go to Double Toasted, but if it's a movie I know I'm going to see or I want to see, I'm not going to listen to that review until I have...
Yeah, I'm thinking of going back to that, because... I feel I get so fixated and focused on whatever I've heard everyone else fucking talk about already that I lose sight of just the idea of going in and feeling,
Yeah.
So, and I feel like I did that with this movie. It might have been too because it was like 11 o'clock at night and I was very tired beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think you need some of your senses to.
Yeah, you should be awake.
There's some things that I thought were a little like. I mean, you can get nitpicky about some stuff, for sure, I think.
You can get nitpicky about every movie, but go on. I mean, what would you nitpick?
Matthew McConaughey, when he's getting explained what the holes are, I don't know. Yeah. I was thinking, like, wouldn't they have informed him of all this before traveling to it? And then he talks, and then he's learning it for the first time, and then he's like, well, you know what we can do with this spaceship? We can do this. And I'm like...
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone do this beforehand? It took him like a minute to come up with a theory of how they could get into it.
The conclusion he comes to seems like one you can on basic knowledge, because he says like, okay, like the pull is too much if we go directly at it and save the most fuel or whatever. Like just the first route you would think of, if we go that way, that's not practical because the pull's too much. Why don't we just go around the other side? Like,
yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't require that you know everything about it to be like, well, what if we just approach from here? So I don't think, like, it's not like he became an expert all of a sudden. It seemed reasonable for him to assert that idea to me, but...
I will say, like, the sequence with... it's weird, like, looking back on this sequence, I think it's scary, but at the time I didn't feel scared, which is weird, but... I'm kind of grasping the situation a little bit better now.
Yeah.
When they rev at the first planet.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's the waves and the guy gets killed and stuff. Like, they said, like, they would only have 7 hours. It would be 7 hours.
Every hour they spend there is 7 years on Earth.
Yeah. And I thought they only spent, like, an hour there. It happens, and then when I found out there was 23 years, I was like, I did feel like,
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You have lost a lot of time.
Yeah, you don't know how, like, you've been gone for and then he has children, and they're growing.
Yeah.
They're growing children.
Yeah.
Who still got years to go. And it's like he missed out on all of that.
Yeah, that's why that scene when he's seeing those videos and it jumps to the future, like, and I thought his performance in that moment was incredible. Like,
I talked to my brother about it. He didn't like that scene.
why?
I don't know. That's why he has his own review show.
Does he really?
Yeah. But I personally thought that scene was fantastic. I thought it was cool storytelling, just bottom line. The fact of how he has to watch his kids grow through, like, random transmissions, and then...
Well, and condensed into so little time. It's like...
Yeah,
exactly. For them, so much life is unfolded, and then he gets... It's like the impact of something so tiny. It's like...
What his daughter feared is exactly what he did to them. Like, so unintentional.
Yeah. But I really liked how they played her, too, because, like, I think a lesser movie would have made her, like, a sort of one-note, like, meh character. But they gave her more life than that.
I felt Jessica Chastain brought more life than... No, actually, I think the writing is... Yeah, they took care of the character.
Well, because that's a character choice, and
Yeah.
that's I must assume that's a directorial choice, because she doesn't seem like... This is my character. I'm mad because you left, She played all those moments very humanly. And, like, it's that thing that happens in a lot of, not this kind of movie, but a lot of the big movies we get nowadays that are big and fanciful and stuff like that, where it's like, this character has a goal and a defining mood, and they're always that mood because that's what their goal says. Where it's like, in real life, you're allowed to be angry at somebody, but you can still go do your job, smile, be a human.
Yeah.
It's just little minutia like that made me appreciate that character. Because, like, when she leaves that transmission, yeah, it's a really emotional moment, and it's, probably really hard for that character. But in the next scene, she's, like, smiling and chatting with Michael Caine, and they're working on something, and it's like, oh, okay, you're a human, It's just, those things, those little touches go a long way.
I mean, I like that relationship she developed with Michael Caine.
Yeah.
And then right before he dies, he has to go and fuck everything up. But, yeah, he got...
Well, he did what he thought he had to.
Yeah, I know. I get it. It was a joke.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
No, I know.
You laugh at jokes.
Ha!
There you go. Hey, have you done the Michael Caine thing?
Yeah, like a million times.
Michael Caine.
Have you seen Michael Caine doing the Michael Caine one? That's a real thing, yeah.
That sounds great.
He did it on some talk show, yeah.
Anyway, that scene that he had where he was like, because I started getting used to Michael Caine being like, oh, the older man who shows up to help the protagonist
The
out.
older scholarly
Yeah.
gentleman who will give some guidance but not ultimately solve all the problems.
He's literally that in every one of Nolan's movies.
I have a feeling Christopher Nolan looks up to Michael Caine.
Yeah, probably. And that's what I thought we got with him again. But then when it cut to 23 years later, and then the characters really changed.
Yeah.
I thought, like, we haven't seen that really in a Nolan film,
Well, that, and I feel like it's a credit to Michael Caine because for some reason, to me at least, he always, even though it's the same character type, he always complements the film he's in.
Yeah.
Rather than feeling like, here's Michael Caine again, like... It's like, no, but this is the version that works for Interstellar, this is the version that works for Inception, this is the version that works for the Batman films.
And
I think he uses him well in that regard.
The writing was really good of that scene where he says, Plan A wasn't real and stuff. Like, hey, I was fucking around for the past 20 years. Like that scene was really written well, but I thought it was greatly elevated by seeing Michael Caine's performance.
Well, that was I couldn't even understand the dialogue half the time in that scene, and I was still massively affected by it. Because you still got the broad strokes, but I believed the impact of that moment. I believed the impact of what admitting that means.
Yeah,
to the worst, the last person you wanted to admit that to.
You could feel all his regret.
Mm-hmm.
You could feel all the pain he's had to do by. You could tell this guy just thought he was doing the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
And now he's realizing I did not do the right thing. That moment was really powerful, I think, not in just terms of a good plot twist, but and that being like a great performance.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking around that time, special guest appearance by Matthew Damon happens.
Oh yeah, Matt Damon.
I couldn't get into the part where he showed up crying because I was like, is that Matt Damon?
Well, yeah,
That's Matt Damon.
I didn't realize he would be in it. So that for a moment, I was like, "Wait a minute, is that Matt Damon?" And then
I was like, he was really just no one.
he said
really?
he said one thing, and I was like, "That's Matt Damon." And then he started to break down, and I was like, "Oh shit."
Oh really?
Yeah, I bought that too.
It took me a long time to adjust because he was the one who would say, "Now is a good time for me to take my shirt off."
I didn't think about that.
That is all I thought about was the guy who made the McConaughey impression popular.
I forgot.
Is now a supporting character.
To Matthew McConaughey. No, the humor is not lost on me, but it didn't cross my mind even a once.
And Matt Damon is such a superstar that it was distracting to me.
In another very giant science fiction film.
Yeah.
He just got off Elysium and now he's in Interstellar.
Like, he packs, his movies pack in more money than McConaughey's. Like, he's got the Bourne franchise, the Ocean franchises. Elysium wasn't as successful as they wanted to be, but it was still pretty successful. Mm-hmm. And, that Zoo movie he did recently.
We bought a zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it. That was the one that really put Matt Damon back.
Like, oh shit.
It's like, he still got it, man.
Families love this guy.
He was a cool character, but that whole thing where, like, the twist happens and he's, like, trying to kill McConaughey, which, it was realistic, but it was kind of funny at the same time when they were fighting.
I was lost and just, like, I really believed it. I really believed those performances. I was like, because I've never seen Matt Damon. I just loved that thing of, like, he calls him a coward, and he just says, yeah, like, 5-6 times. And I was like, wow. Because you usually, especially now, associate Matt Damon with, like, he's usually a lead, he's strong, he's in control, or at least he has some kind of upper hand, whereas this, like, this is a man at the end of a very long rope.
Yeah.
I was like, that in and of itself was a neat new thing to see for him, for me anyway.
I thought I could be here to watch you die, but I feel kind of icky about the whole process right now.
Even now, because it's like there's a lot of, like, just the effects and what comes with being human that you don't even necessarily think about. That's always all over the fringes in this movie. 2 seconds. I just really like TARS.
Dude, how come no one's talking about TARS?
TARS is my boy.
TARS is the shit.
TARS is my best friend.
Those were some cool ass robots, man.
I love TARS so much.
They're fucking sweet, man.
I love those voices. I could have sworn one of them was Cillian Murphy. I'm not sure though.
You know who's great in it too? Casey Affleck.
Yeah, and I didn't even know he was in it. Like,
yeah,
that was another one. I had heard Jessica Chastain was in it, and I forgot until she showed up.
Me
and
too.
I didn't know Casey Affleck, Matt Damon,
Matthew McConaughey.
Wes Bentley. Yeah, Matthew McConaughey. I didn't know Wes Bentley was in it. John Lithgow, I didn't know was in it. All those.
I honestly, I know you said you felt a lot of the writing in the first
I only felt the writing
act.
because in the first act it was like everything was so fast-paced, and it was like, okay, we gotta establish this thing, and then we gotta get here. And I didn't think it was bad.
I feel like all of Nolan's movies go that way.
Perhaps.
Like, they always, the beginning, I don't want anyone to take it too literally on that, but I think a good amount of his movies, the setup usually is really fast and montagey in some ways. Like, they always tend to cut faster.
I guess, yeah. It's like it's cut faster, the music is much louder and more constant, like everything is sort of cacophonous. And then once they get to space, though, once that rocket takes off, I thought the movie had a fine stride the rest of the time. Like,
I really appreciated that. Like, because I liked the scene beforehand, too, with the daughter crying about, about how he's not staying and stuff, and, like, how he can't get that goodbye that he needs.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, that was really heartbreaking,
Oh, he did use Josh Stewart. Sorry, the credits were really quick on this one, so I couldn't catch who was. But Josh Stewart was Case. He was the other robot.
Oh.
I love Josh Stewart. Sorry.
No, those robots should have their own spin-offs.
Topher Grace, I didn't know was in it. Like,
I'm always distracted by Topher Grace.
I thought I would be. And I was like, he's doing fine.
No. I was like, it's Topher Grace. He's always Topher Grace. So I'm like, it's Topher Grace. It's Topher Grace in Interstellar.
But this is one of the best iterations of Topher Grace I've ever seen.
Yeah, because they didn't give him much to say.
Or I thought he said it well. But yeah, what I really liked that they didn't give him, and I mean, it's integral to the story, but even just in that moment, watching the movie on phone, I was like, oh wow, he's really going off, and this is not a good situation, like, at all.
Yeah.
You know, there is no like resolution before he leaves. You know.
You know what I really like seeing was the emotional damage that had happened after the 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was really neat because it seemed like, yeah, for people who felt like their father might have abandoned them or lost hope that their father's coming back, or anything, a variety of feelings. The fact that they chose to go down a path of that created like negative things for them. Like, clearly it's a traumatic experience. So for that to happen, you could to see them as adults, it made it more compelling because you just see Matthew McConaughey like, I need to get the fuck back. You know, like he's just struggling because he knows that he's missed out on 23 years already. So he's like freaking the fuck out. And he's trying. That's what I loved about his performance too. Was he was on edge, but he knew he had to keep his cool to concentrate. You know, like, and you could feel that. Like,
well, that was the other thing too. Is like all the people chosen to be on this crew. I was like, at least the way they played the characters, I was like, I can see why you were all chosen to go for this mission.
The guy, the black guy. Who's the black guy?
Romilly. Whatever. I don't know. I know I've seen that actor before, and I don't remember in what.
I liked him. I thought he was really good.
I loved him.
I thought he was really good, and then the fact that he just kicked it in space for 23 years is pretty fucking awesome.
Well, yeah, I was like, what happened to it? And then I was like, oh shit. Well, the second they opened that door, I was like, oh shit, he stayed on the ship.
Yeah.
Because somebody has to. Like, oh no. And then that scene, I just love those performances.
You know, the more I think about this movie, it is a fantastic fucking film.
I'm always afraid to heap praise on anything, especially something as divisive as this. But like at the time I was there, I thought it was fantastic.
The movie took created characters, and they thought, what if we actually went through a wormhole? You know, what if we were able to do that?
What would these people's experiences be?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's the thing that
it's great. Yeah, it's pretty clever.
And I don't want to compare this movie to Transcendence, but I feel like Christopher Nolan does have an understanding. Again, it's like, say what you will about the way he develops characters or how he develops characters, whether or not you think it's deep or not. He does come from a genuine point of view where I believe that the human experience merits everything else in the story. Whereas, like, something like Transcendence with Wally Pfister talking that big game of, like, well, none of the action matters if it's not about the people. I was like, you really fumbled that ball.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie, still, I didn't fumble that ball for me. I was like, yeah, this is all about the people. There is a lot of thrill and you know, action-y stuff. There's not, like, traditional people fighting action, but there is, you know, big, thrilling set pieces. But they're all merited by the story and the characters. And I think he's got a really good handle on that, you know?
And I think for a film that is very much out there in a science fiction sense, I think he did a good enough job for grounding it in a way that we could find as reality. You know? Like, it wasn't, like, so out there. And I love how they just cut past all the bullshit to get to the adventure. Like, but I liked how they didn't have any of, okay, now we gotta watch them prepare to go to space forever.
Yeah, it's like, you know.
It's like, you know they're gonna go to space. So
he's gonna go to space. You know.
And when they were like, okay, we gotta go to Saturn, but we gotta stop by Mars first. I was like, oh, fuck, man, we gotta watch them stop by Mars. And they just were like, nope, we're gonna skip that. Yeah, we know they stopped. Nothing happened, really.
Well, they cut that way different from the initial teaser, and I was like, oh, shit, doing the countdown as he's driving away. Like, I love that segue. When he's driving away from the farm and they've got the T-minus, and then the second they get to 1, it's rockets flaring, and, like, I was like, well done.
Very impressive trailers, man.
Well, and again,
they
like,
don't reveal shit.
I feel a little bit like a hypocrite, because when I saw the full theatrical trailer, I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen in this movie other than someone's going to go to space. And then I saw it, and I was like, that's a really great trailer, though, because it gave me a sense for the scope and what might happen, but I had no idea all this shit was going to be in here. And I'm really pleased with that, especially in hindsight.
Well, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
First podcast in a while.
I know. This is like a spoiler podcast review.
Yeah, and I know we definitely didn't touch on stuff that people are like, we should have heard it, but I think we explained why we might not have cared to even touch on it.
Yeah. It's like if you want to hear us pick apart the science, that's not what this is about, really.
Like the ending you could totally be like really picky about. But here's what I'll say. I bought it.
Well, I bought the Jeopardy too, because like
it.
I know you said you figured things would pan out, but like I was watching this and there were a number of times where like I don't know who's gonna make it, and if he's gonna make it, he could die in space. Like I really thought at the end in the prism thing, I thought this was going to be his moment before death. It was just like he must be seeing all these things as he's dying and floating away in space. You know, so it did bring me some surprises. It got my heart rate up. It was a very visceral experience. You know,
Well,
it was very affecting to me.
I'm not gonna say that like I thought it would pan out the way it did. I just
But the things would work out in the end.
Yeah,
in some capacity.
Yeah.
I thought this could be the type of movie where things don't necessarily work out in the end.
I had a couple moments, but I always went back to it's gonna be fun. Somehow it'll be fun. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Dude, you should subscribe to The Real Rejects.
Yeah.
And after you're done doing that, if you want to watch reasons to see other reviews, just check out the fucking channel.
I'm sure you'll find
just
something.
scope the channel. There's a lot of crap on
Just
there.
go to the homepage. Everything's organized. whatever you need.
And so do that. Thank you.
Thank you.